Hello, and today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions of Lost Sphear, the new game from Tokyo RPG Factory, who did the quite amazing I Am Setsuna the other year, which was kind of an old school styled RPG that I really enjoyed. And I'm glad that Square is getting little indie companies to do old school styled RPGs because they sure as hell aren't going to do them anymore. I mean, the new Final Fantasy games are just sort of over bloated, follow the trend kind of games now. It's just like, oh, let's make a game that's kind of like Xenoblade and Witcher instead of just making what the fans actually want. And with this game, I Am Setsuna, and the upcoming Octopath Traveler coming to the Switch, I think they really are starting to make some stuff like they did in the 90s. You know, they can't really just keep doing the same thing over and over again, but I'm glad they've got sort of a little indie studio that is doing it for them. And Tokyo RPG Factory so far, you know, their track record's been pretty good. This game's good as well, and I'm glad I bought it, and I'm glad that they're making these kind of games again. And now I'm going to jump into the gameplay roughly about 2 hours in, because yeah, that's how long I've been playing around that. And I've done sort of the practice dungeon and the intro. I've got to the point where the gameplay kind of opens up and you can kind of go wherever you want. So I thought that would be a good point to do this video at. And the first thing I want to say about it is the graphics are fantastic. They just kind of look like they took PS1 era JRPGs and then scaled it up and made it better. It's kind of like, it feels like a HD redo of one of those, the graphics style. It's very nice, and the environment's quite nicely designed and all that. And the music is fantastic. It's got that kind of whimsical Studio Ghibli kind of vibe, kind of like I Am Setsuna did, but I Am Setsuna had just a piano on its own, which was good, but this has a bit more orchestration to it and that. And the general outline of the story is that, you know, you're a child who's mystically got some powers that he doesn't know how he got, and you've got to find out and save the world, you know, like you generally do in JRPGs. But that's fine, that's all I want. I just want a nice, simple, back to basics RPG. And with Lost Beer, that's exactly what I got. I got exactly what I wanted. As soon as I started playing the game, I just started smiling because of the music and the presentation. It just gave me that sort of nostalgic feeling for, you know, for the PS1 Final Fantasy games. It just felt like I was playing a new one of those, but released now. And that is pretty much all I wanted out of this game. And, you know, the basics of the gameplay are sort of like your usual Final Fantasy game. You got weapons and armor that you can go to the shop and buy and upgrade, and you can go to inns to heal up, and you know, the usual stuff. There's also these things called Sprite Nights, which is this game's way of doing skills. You collect different skills as you go along, and then you just add them in. And it's a pretty good system. It's very simplistic, but again, that's all I wanted. And it kind of reminds me of Bravely Default on the 3DS. It looks quite similar. It looks like a slightly more advanced version of what you would have got in Bravely Default. And you kind of go around in this nicely designed world that is very reminiscent of Final Fantasy IX for me. And you just sort of use your character's power to heal the world. It's like towns and stuff are disappearing into this white mass, and you've got to use memories to bring them back somehow through some weird shit that you know, I don't understand yet because I've only played it for like 2 hours. In a way, it kind of reminds me of something like Dark Cloud, you know, where you're like rebuilding villages and stuff. It feels like that's what you're going to be doing for the majority of the game. And in the first 2 hours, I did get to do one dungeon, and it was kind of like, you know, the first practice dungeon that you get to do in the game. And it's where you know, you just walking through. You got to get to the boss. Maybe there was some, no, it was not really puzzles, but they were simple things like pressing switches and that. I don't know if later that's going to get a bit more complicated or something, but I did have a little bit of a gripe with the design of the first dungeon, because every single room just looked the same, and if it was a little bit more complicated, I feel like I would have got lost very, very easily, and I did at some points when I was going back in there to level grind. But you know, it's early days. Maybe the later dungeons will do this a bit better, but, well, here's hoping, because that would be pretty bad if there was a big sprawling one later and I'm like, oh, I don't even know where I am, I keep getting lost. But I'm sure they won't do that. The combat is also quite simplistic and very similar to the combat of I Am Setsuna. It's got your basic RPG system. You've got attack, and then you've got skills, and there's also something called momentum attacks, which is this little blue meter down above your health, and when the little balls fill up, you can time a button press when you attack. You press square when a little blue flash comes up, and then that gives you an extra attack onto your attack. But you can't stack them. It's only one, even though you've got three, but it maxes out. And that's basically it. But you do have to think about where you're going to place your units, kind of like you would in a tactical RPG, in a sense, but a bit lighter than that. Like if you're going to, place your units together on an enemy that has an area of effect attack, they might both get attacked, which, could fuck you over. And you've got your range units who have like different bubbles and different line of sight attacks they can use to hit more than one enemy at a time. And it is quite an enjoyable battle system. It is basically the same as I Am Setsuna, but it's a little bit improved and a little bit more complicated. And there's definitely more diversity of enemies in the game, because that was one of my problems with I Am Setsuna. There was far too many just like palette swapped enemies, and you just end up fighting the same enemies over and over again. And the fact that that game was set all in the snow kind of just meant you were going through stuff that looks exactly the same through the whole game. There's no like scenery changes. I mean, I'm not saying I want Final Fantasy styled, oh, here's the fire temple, here's the air temple. I don't want that, but maybe mix it up a bit with some different landscapes. I mean, it could have gone with like a desert in there or something, like every RPG does at some point. But yeah, the combat is quite enjoyable. It's the bogged down standard battles, like the little standard battles, can get a bit annoying and repetitive, but that's like any RPG. But when you get to the boss battles and stuff like that, it's a lot more. You've got to use a lot more strategy, and it's definitely a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, the combat is really fun. I'm enjoying that. It is giving me a lot of nostalgia vibes for just older RPGs, and it kind of feels like Chrono Trigger as well in many ways. As you can see the enemies on the map, and it works very similarly. And as you can hear, I've really enjoyed my time with it so far, and I would definitely recommend buying it if you're a fan of older RPGs, old JRPGs and stuff like that, because it's really going to make you smile, and just you're going to enjoy it. If that's what you want these days. Maybe you don't want that anymore, but if you do, I'd recommend buying it. I'm gonna later in the week do a proper in-depth review, but this was just me talking off the cuff about my opinions on the game. I think it's very good, and I really hope Square keeps letting Tokyo RPG Factory do what they should be doing themselves. It probably wouldn't make them enough money anyway, so I can't really blame them. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you later.